Steve Kerr, brought to us by Xfinity. Stay connected, protected, and entertained. Steve, it is hard for the common man, the common listener, the common person to relate to someone who has lived such a great basketball life. So let's start on the one street we all walk down together. I hate emails too. I really do. I hate emails too. I don't like checking them. I get it. We're not holding a lack of email accountability against you or really anyone. Maybe we'll blame Raymond Ritter, but that's about it.
I'm always up for blaming Raymond. You know that.
Do you need a personal assistant? Like the Warriors, I just saw the Forbes list come out. They can get you a personal assistant to check these things.
Yeah, I actually have one, but, I finally did read the email today, and there was nothing in it about carrying violations. So I think the whole email thing was just a rumor that came out yesterday.
By the way, it's really refreshing to hear someone just say, that was carrying. And there was one time where Jordan literally was carrying a tray of cocktails. I mean, that's how much he was carrying the ball. The other two, little iffy. That one time, absolutely, they would have called that on you.
Well, I mean, the reality is NBA players have been carrying the ball for 30 years, and I'm not making a joke. I mean, Allen Iverson changed the whole game with his crossover move because it was a blatant carry, but it was such an incredible move and so fun to watch that he changed the game with it, and everybody started to do it. And now, the hesitation crossover is a staple in the game. Now, some of them are more egregious than others, but the bottom line is, since I've been coaching last 8 years, you might see one carry called every 3 games, and all of a sudden we get 3 on one player in one game, including 2 that aren't even involved in a play where he's gaining an advantage. It was very bizarre. It was very bizarre.
You've also been a stickler over the years about traveling violations. Are you getting more traction on that at least?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm glad you're happy about that, Ray.
Well, no, I just wanted to get an answer because I just want to know how that the league memos are still working the way they should.
How about defensive 3 seconds, which, by the way, we now refer to as the Margot?
Yeah, good. I like that.
She can see it. We want the NBA to see it too. Steve Kerr with us here. So, look, you've been drilling down defensively since your career as a head coach started. How upset are you that all the lessons that you've been teaching throughout the years maybe aren't more drilled down into this team right now?
Oh, it's early. I mean, nobody likes to lose, but this is all part of it. We've got a new team. You can see. I mean, our 5-man starting lineup is the best 5-man combination in the league. Those guys have been playing together now for years. There's a confidence level. They come out and they know exactly what they're doing, and now we have to build that with our bench and with the next guys who are coming in to help, and that doesn't just happen overnight, and it especially doesn't happen when you're putting a lot of new faces and young players in at the same time coming off the bench. So what we've tried to do is, as you've noticed, is kind of keep a couple starters on the floor at the same time as the young guys, as the new guys. But as I said, it takes time to build chemistry and continuity and familiarity, and in the meantime, there's some growing pains, and that's okay. That's all part of it.
And obviously, that's what everyone signed up for, with the 2-timeline storyline that's been, so well covered. And I just think it's something that we all have to go through kind of together. Is there any coaching trick or drill or something that impacted a team that you played for to make better defensive effort that you can deploy in practice, in a team dinner conversation? Like, what besides actual defense in an NBA game can improve defensive effort in an NBA game?
So you're asking about pixie dust?
Yeah, do you have any of that? You were in Miami, great place to pick it up.
Yeah, I mean the bottom line is there's no shortcut to to being really good at something. The 10,000 hour rule applies to everybody and in every profession. It takes time. It's just the way the human brain operates. It's the mind and the body having to connect. All of those things. It just takes time. And so the great thing is these young guys all have a ton of talent, and they're smart, and they're driven, and they want to do well, and they just need reps. And obviously the tricky part is we're also trying to defend our championship. And so how do you get the reps that those guys need and balance out the momentum of each game? And we're not in a place yet where we've been able to do that, but the goal is to try to be able to do that.
Is it a fair question to ask roughly how long should this take? I don't need a specific date or a specific game, but in general, how long should this process take?
No idea.
Okay.
Yeah. You just don't know, because every player develops on his own time, and every player comes from a different set of circumstances and different background, and I can tell you too that it's for us as an organization, as a staff, we have to learn about combinations too. So it's not just one player has to gain enough reps to be ready to win. It's a bunch of things have to happen, all at once. You got to have multiple players developing, but you also have to have players filling certain roles. You have to have, different combinations that are effective. Then you have to get comfortable with whatever scheme you deem is the most effective for that group. That's why continuity is so crucial in this league. It always has been, but I think we're a perfect example of that. We've got a group that's been together for a long time, and that's why they've been very successful. Obviously, the talent has a lot to do with it, but the continuity matters, and so we're trying to incorporate some new guys into that, and that's it. Like I said, it just takes time. You just don't know, exactly what that means. How many days, how many reps? You don't know exactly what all that means. You just keep working. You keep going.
Steve, were you surprised to see Miami have so much success with the old Syracuse matchup zone that they pulled out on you?
No, it was interesting. They ran some of it against us last week in San Francisco. So we felt a lot better about it in the first half when we saw it last night, and we had some really good possessions against it. And then I think down the stretch, we just didn't get comfortable. I think Miami deserves the credit. I mean, those guys were flying around. I mean, between Bam and Jimmy Butler, there's probably not two better guys to anchor a zone, at the top and the bottom than those two. That play that Jimmy made, where the foul on Steph's three that was overturned,
the high five foul.
The high five foul. I thought it was a foul, but take away whether it was a foul or not, that was an incredible shot challenge. For him to get around that screen and even get a hand near the shot was remarkable. So, I give Miami a lot of credit. They were 2-5 coming in. They were pretty desperate, and they played like it, and they earned the win.
How often have you seen that particular call overturned? And I'm not trying to bait you into complaining about it. I'm just saying it's unusual that they would go to New York to try to figure that out and then overturn it. Does that happen more often than we think?
I don't really know. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's really just human judgment, and I've seen plays on replay that I thought, oh my gosh, this is for sure going to get overturned, and they weren't. And then I've seen plays that I thought, no chance this gets overturned, and then they are, like last night. So it's replay is, the intentions are great with replay. We're trying to get get things right. But there's a lot of subjectivity to it. There's a lot of nuance, and there's a lot of repercussions to it. So I've told you guys before, I'm not a fan of replay. I don't think it accomplishes, what we hope that it does. And I would like to see replay just go away, other than buzzer beaters. Just, did a guy get a shot off at the end of the quarter, at the end of the game in time? Just leave it at that.
I agree with you. I would also take time to look at, who's got possession on an out-of-bounds ball in the last minute of quarters. Like, we could take a look at that too. But disrupting the flow of the game to make sure every moment of the game is perfectly officiated, I think, is the bigger crime.
Mm-hmm.
Steve?
The flow is everything in basketball. And I think because the flow is compromised, and even the integrity of the game is compromised based on the unintended consequences of replay. The one I point to all the time is the famous Ray Allen shot against the Spurs in the finals. That's one of the great shots in NBA history. And because of the replay rule, the officials decided to stop the clock just to make sure his feet were behind the line. But in doing so, they stopped the Spurs 4-on-4 fast break with Tony Parker, the fastest player in the league at the time, from going down and in a 4-on-4 with Ray Allen out of the picture because he was buried in the deep corner. That may have decided the NBA championship. So, the flip side of that is you can say, well, what if his foot had been on the line and we didn't check it? And you have every right to say, you're right. That would have been a shame. But my point is, no matter how you slice it, there's unintended consequences where we're not going to get everything right. So with that in mind, I would much rather just have the flow and the beauty of the game and the acceptance that there's going to be some mistakes, because let's face it, there are plenty of mistakes anyway, even with replay, but then you don't even get the flow that you want.
How well did Pop handle that call?
Remarkably well. He's I don't think he's ever said anything publicly about it, but you go back and watch that play, 4-on-4 in transition with 5 seconds left. I've seen Tony Parker hit a million shots in cases like that. And instead, it's a timeout, basically a de facto timeout, and Miami gets to set up their defense. And 5-on-5, totally different deal. There's just no space, not nearly as much space on the floor. So, to me, that's sort of the poster child for unintended consequences of replay.
Steve Kerr with us here on 95.7 The Game. Since we're kind of going down San Antonio Spurs memory lane, I'd like to just walk down it for a minute and then bring it back to the Warriors as your guys are playing right now. Back in 2011, Ginobili was an all-star. He started 79 out of 80 games that year. Next season, he started the first 5 games. He gets hurt. He misses the next 21 games. And from that point forward, he becomes, the sixth man that pretty much began the conversation about how important sixth men really, really, truly are. How much different was that situation at that point in time in Manu's career and recovery from where you are with Klay Thompson right now?
I've never given that any thought. That's a totally different set of circumstances. Every coach has to know his own team and feel whatever decision he makes is best for that team. So, I wasn't with the Spurs at that point, so whatever Pop was deciding, that was, what he was feeling was best, and that's what I try to do with our team.
Are you surprised to see Klay almost showing so much vulnerability? Obviously what Charles Barkley said about him rubbed him the wrong way. I also thought it was a little disingenuous to say that when you're in a studio, when he was just out on the set with you as well on opening night. Does Klay need a little bit more attention right now? He had a couple of really good looks last night that I know you want him pulling the trigger when he's got those looks, but they came up short. It looked like a better effort from Klay, but the results probably still aren't where he wants them to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get better from here. We know that. Bottom line is, if we were 6-2 right now, this wouldn't even be a discussion.
Right, no questions.
3-5.
No questions.
So at 3-5, it's like all these things come up. I've seen Klay have so many slow starts to seasons. I know Klay well. He is much deeper and more reflective than anybody would guess. My mom used to have this expression that she used about me. She said, "Still waters run deep." Meaning the people who don't show a lot of emotion are often, the most emotional. And I think Klay is really an amazing human being and just a wonderful teammate and person. And part of that humanity is just that he cares so much, and that makes him vulnerable in a good way. But it also makes him prone to beating himself up a little bit when he's in a bad shooting stretch. And that was true before the injuries, and it's still true now. So main thing with Klay is just for him to keep doing what he's doing and keep playing, and as our team gets better, he's going to get better, and vice versa. And it's all out there in front of him and our team, and I'm excited about it.
Would this be a discussion internally if you were 6-2, or do you know him so well that it's not a discussion at all?
No, I mean, what I was saying is it wouldn't be a discussion with us on this show right now if we were 6-2. We'd be talking about the good things, in our winning streak or whatever, and it might be an aside, but no, it wouldn't really matter that much because everyone would say, well, Klay will get going. But when you're losing, everything is exposed and everything is examined, and that's all part of it. That's part of the gig, and I tell our guys that all the time on our team is that that this is a huge business, and so much of the business, so much of salaries are paid for by intense scrutiny. So it's a big part of our jobs as players and coaches is to handle that. So Klay knows that, so he can handle it, and the focus now is just let's keep moving forward and let's keep getting better.
In a little evidence that we can see some performances through, the losing that is followed you guys onto the road. How about Steph Curry with the quietest 13-rebound triple-double maybe of his career? I mean, 23, 13, and 13 for Steph last night. How's that guy getting 13 rebounds? My goodness.
Incredible. I mean, he's just got such a nose for the ball. He's constantly anticipating, where the ball is heading. He's also fortunate to play with, Looney and Draymond who constantly are boxing their guys out. There are some teams where the big man is, just constantly gobbling up all the rebounds, 15, 17 rebounds. And that's a luxury, too. But we're a team where, Draymond and Loon are box-out guys more than they're heavy rebounders, and Steph recognizes that. So while they're boxing people out, he's anticipating where the ball's going, and he's racing to get it. But he's just Steph is playing at such a high level. He's so amazing. Still playing at a level that a lot of people wouldn't have expected at his age. But he's still going strong.
Absolutely incredible performance again. Just really in all games so far this year for Steph. Steve, who is Jonathan Kuminga's veteran? Can that player help him become a better player just through, saying, how about this? Let's just start with this question. Do you want Kuminga to be a rebounder or a box-out guy?
Both. I mean, it's the game. The game has a lot of nuance to it, and so for young players, as I was saying earlier, it's all about reps in practice, reps in your workouts, reps in games, because there are times to be a rebounder, there are times to be a box-out guy, and you got to recognize those and multiply that by 100 when it comes to the game, like rotations and passes to make and taking an extra dribble to get out of pressure in order to make the next pass. All these little things that you have to feel through experience. Young guys have to learn, and And so that's all part of it. JK's doing great. He's working hard. He's kept a good attitude. He's going to get his time. He's going to get his chance. And so I'm not worried about him.
Are the conversations that you have with him, is he demonstrating that he understands the patience that he needs to put on his own career, no matter how frustrating that is?
Well, he's a young guy. He's very quiet. So he's not someone who's going to express a lot of emotion one way or the other. And so that's why it's important that Andre Iguodala is here. Andre, you asked earlier who's his vet. Andre's his vet, and Andre is doing a great job of having the conversations with JK that need to be had, and on top of the ones that JK and I have, and his assistant coaches have with him. So this is all part of it, and the bottom line is when you look at the NBA today compared to where it was 20, 30 years ago, the teams are basically the ones developing these super young guys, whereas back then, John Thompson and Dean Smith and Lute Olson were developing them, and so when
Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight.
Oh yeah, Bobby Knight. Sorry, I forgot the Indiana fan you were.
Hey.
But it's the truth. I mean, back then it was the college game was our farm system, and so you were getting guys who had built up the foundation in their game to prepare them. Now we have to offer them that foundation, teach them that foundation. So it's a little different.
Do you ever worry, just talking about Kuminga, that there might be too many voices? Do you try to sort of limit your conversations with him so that maybe the message becomes simpler for him? Or is it still too early to try to figure out a pattern there?
No, that's all part of it. You get to know somebody, you build a relationship with them, and you just try to connect and help that person. I mean, that coaching, by definition, is to help someone become better and to help them get the best out of themselves, and that's what we try to do with all of our guys. And it doesn't always mean, hey, you get to play. It means, here's what you have to do to keep getting better, and here's how you can weather the storm, and your time is coming, and you just got to keep people moving in the right direction.
Are we getting closer to an Andre Iguodala on-court sighting?
Not yet. I think he's as I said publicly last week, we're really taking our time on this because we want him healthy down the stretch, not right now. And where he is age-wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to expose him right now and play him a ton of games and possibly lose him later on in the year like we did last year.
So what if Steve Nash just shows up and is standing at the free throw line telling Draymond to get his elbow just a little bit more towards the basket, and he pretends like he never even left? Would that be cool?
Oh, as a consultant?
Yeah, he just shows up again. He never left. Forget about Brooklyn never happened. I'm just here. Let's get those free throws down, boys.
Either that or he'll be on the tennis court and playing with his kids and enjoying his freedom. I know which one I would choose if I were him.
I mean, it's at least an 8-week vacation for the Nashes if it's my call, right?
Oh, man. It's time for Steve to enjoy his freedom and get away from the nonsense.
Boy, I say you were so honest when you said, if I were head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, I'm not doing very well in that job either.
And I say that about Pop and Eric Spoelstra and the guys around the league who are such great coaches. There's not a single one of us who could have thrived in that setting, and that's the truth. It's just that was an unmanageable, untenable situation for him.
Well, I tell you, when you know what culture is, you know what culture isn't, and you know what culture is, Steve. Did you get to enjoy, speaking of culture, a huge slice of key lime pie when you were in Miami?
I did not, but I got in the Atlantic Ocean quite a bit, which was healing. The healing properties of the Atlantic Ocean were definitely helpful the last 2 days.
Now,
Are you ripping the Pacific?
Excuse me?
Are you ripping the Pacific Ocean?
I'm a big fan of all oceans, Ray.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. We don't want you to get burned on the internet.
The Atlantic's awfully warm right now, just so you know.
He's pro-ocean. I think Klay needs like a 2-inch thick wetsuit to just hop in the water out here. So there's your difference. Steve, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. Finish up this road trip with a couple of wins for us. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.
Steve Kerr. Guy's just fantastic. Every single time we get to talk to him, and look, he understands what the task is. He understands that he's got guys who are so young right now, they might not be ready for the task. There will be growing pains. Know that. They're going to be patient. You got to be patient. And I bet you the patience eventually pays off. I mean, if patience is going to pay off for Jonathan Kuminga, think how much it could actually pay off for Jonathan Kuminga fans eventually. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Those two things are mutually exclusive.